Hey guys, it's me. I'm back, and we're going to be talking about some terrifying discoveries in abandoned underground cities. We love to see it, you love to hear it, let's get into it. Starting off our list today, we have the Capuchin Crypt located in Rome, Italy. While it's not an entire city, it is an intricate space located underneath the Santa Maria Church in Rome, and it's comprised of several small chapels. Oh, and it also contains the skeletal remains of 3,700 bodies. In 1631, 300 cartloads of remains belonging to deceased members of the church were brought to the crypt and organized into elaborate displays by the order of Pope Urban VIII. In 1851, the crypt was opened to the public, in exchange for a fee, of course. Of course, it wasn't until 1852 that women were allowed to enter. There are a total of 6 interconnected rooms in the crypt, holding the remains of friars who died between the years of 1528 and 1870. While they were not purposefully arranged to look like a scene from your worst nightmares, but rather to honor the dead, I have to say this would be an incredibly disturbing thing to stumble across during an excursion of urban exploration. Okay, next on our list we have the abandoned Titan 1 missile complex located in eastern Washington, 155 feet below ground. The complex was built in the 1960s and was made up of 3 distinct silos that once held nuclear-tipped Titan 1 rockets, a super stable and not at all dangerous piece of weaponry. Sorry, let me try that again. A super dangerous, highly unstable piece of weaponry. Yeah, that sounds more accurate. The facilities were created using concrete and steel and boast 14-foot thick walls. At one point, later down the line, they housed Titan 2 rockets, but eventually the complex was decommissioned and, of course, abandoned, hence its spot on this list. I feel like the creepiest part of this secret military base is the fact that it was a secret and housed incredibly dangerous weaponry that at the time the public knew absolutely nothing about, which of course begs the question, what could they possibly be hiding from us now, in 2024, with all the advancements in technology and weapons production? I shudder to think of the possibilities. Next up, we have the hidden Underworld of Giza, a previously unknown network of underground chambers and water tunnels located beneath many of Egypt's well-known pyramids, including the Great Pyramid of Egypt's Giza Plateau. And you can probably guess what was found inside of these pyramids. Tombs containing sarcophaguses. Well, duh. But archaeologists have reason to believe that they have found one tomb in particular that they have been searching for quite a while. The tomb of the god Osiris, aka god of the underworld. And not only that, but there are markings in the tomb that suggest that it might also be a portal to another dimension. One researcher claimed that while exploring the tomb next to the sarcophagus, which lies submerged in water underground, his hotel card key fell out of his pocket, but instead of the card falling next to his feet, as one would expect, it was flung across the water and drawn into a crack in the sarcophagus, which kind of sounds like a portal to me, because physics, it just doesn't make sense that that would happen unless there's a portal. Next up, we have the eerie discovery of an underground safe city located in Beijing, China, also referred to as the Underground Great Wall or the Dungeon. Construction of the city began in 1969 and continued until its completion in 1979. It was designed as an explosives shelter and military base in anticipation of an impending nuclear attack coming from the Soviet Union. When the attack never came, the bunker went out of commission. In 2000, it was reopened to the public, but those who visited described the bunker as being dark, damp, and super creepy. In February of 2008, the dungeon closed for renovations, and it hasn't been open to the public since, which makes me wonder, has it now become completely abandoned, or is the bunker being used for some super secret government experimentation? That's my guess, but what do you guys think? Let me know down below. Next up, we have the underground Labrynth of Death, another inviting title. 36 underground passages located directly beneath a 3,000-year-old temple in Peru. The passageways were discovered using a tiny remote-operated robot, and when they were explored, archaeologists discovered the remains of 3 people they believe to have been sacrificed in rituals involving illicit substances and the manipulation of light and noise, whatever that means. They also found a ceremonial center in the tunnels where they believe the rituals would have been performed. It was concluded that the deceased must have been of lower status due to the way in which they were buried, face down among the rocks in shallow pits wearing cheap cotton clothing. Nothing like finding ancient sacrifices in an ancient city buried in the underground of Peru. Nice. Speaking of ancient underground things, you may or may not be aware that in the 1960s, a man found an entire abandoned underground city in his basement. Yeah, I'm not kidding. A man living in Turkey knocked down a wall in his basement in an attempt to catch a runaway chicken, only to be met with an ancient city located more than 80 meters below ground. The city is the world's largest excavated underground city. Not only that, but archaeologists believe that it is connected to over 200 smaller individual underground cities that have been discovered in Turkey, which means that the whole thing collectively is absolutely massive. The 18 uncovered levels of tunnel contain more than 600 private homes, as well as schools, wineries, and chapels. It is believed that over 20,000 people once called this city home, but where are they now? And what happened to them remains a mystery to this day. Next up, we've got Dayton's Tunnel, aka the Underground Path of Death. Inviting. So what is it? Or what was it rather, seeing as it's no longer used today? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like, a tunnel for the deceased, but more specifically, a tunnel to transport deceased veterans. Yes, it's not technically a city, but it's abandoned and it does go underground. Kind of. The tunnel is 300 feet long and it was in operation during the 1880s. It began at the Dayton's Veterans Hospital and ended at the Veterans Cemetery. While the discovery of what the tunnel was once used for is not actually that terrifying, it definitely does give the passage a somber feeling. Next up, we have an ancient burial ground located beneath the lost Chinese pyramid of Shimao. Talk about a terrifying discovery. When archaeologists unearthed the burial ground, they found artifacts made of jade and other materials, and evidence of human sacrifice. Yay! The evidence: 6 pits filled with beheaded young women. Fun stuff. While it was originally thought that the site was built during the construction of the Great Wall of China, it was later revealed that the burial site was in fact much older than the wall. As for the pyramid, it measured up to be an impressive 70 meters tall, and it could be seen throughout the entire surrounding area at the time of its construction. Would you visit here, or have you been to any of these places? Let me know. Next up on today's list, we have the hidden underground tunnels of the Roman Colosseum. Raise your hand if you've ever been to Rome. Now put your hand down because you know I can't see you. If you have been to Rome, it's likely you took a trip down to the local Colosseum. You know, the most famous Colosseum in the world. Well, did you know that hidden beneath that Colosseum lies a series of underground tunnels? If you did know that, give yourself a pat on the back because I, until recently, did not. These tunnels were and still are referred to as hypogeum. Hidden beneath the floors of the Colosseum, the passageways were used to house mistreated animals and slaves, as well as to transport gladiators into the arena. They would pop up onto the sand stage when it was time for the festivities to begin. The passageways were, of course, abandoned for a long while until they were opened to the public in 2011. If you've been, let me know, because I have plans to go to Rome one day. And finally, you guys have probably heard of the Waverly Hills Sanitorium. It's been mentioned at least once on this channel, but did you know that the facility had an as above, so below kind of situation going on? And by that, I mean as messed up as this mental hospital was above ground, it was equally as messed up beneath the earth as well. Why? Well, because of an underground labyrinth beneath the sanatorium, of course, an underground labyrinth that included something called the body chute. But let's take a step back for a moment. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium was a massive hospital used to care for patients suffering from tuberculosis in the early 1900s. At least 63,000 1,000 patients died on the grounds. At its peak, the sanatorium was vastly overcrowded, housing 400 patients in wards designed for a maximum of 40. Treatment methods were barbaric, and patients were dying quicker than the hospital staff could deal with them. And so an underground tunnel was used to remove dead bodies from the institution and keep them out of view of the fragile living patients. Bodies were brought through the chute into the underground tunnels of the facility and left to rot. So I guess it never really— oh, Jesus. So I guess it was never really a city where anyone lived, but rather a city for the dead, discarded and forgotten. Pretty grim stuff. Okay, you guys, that's our video for you today. It's good to be back. If you have any other suggestions for abandoned underground cities, let me know in the comments. I would love to learn about them. I've been your host, Hannah Thompson, and I will see you next time.